Chapter 13 is about the equity valuation. This is about evaluating stocks. So before starting evaluating stock directly, let's look at about the book value. The book value is the value of the common equity in the balance sheet. So this is the kind of the value in the financial statement. This is one variable that may show the value of the firm, value of the common equity. But this is not really market value, because the book value is based on the accounting value, which is usually the cost when you issue the stock, and market value of the stock is actually based on the potential of the firm. So we really do not use the book value as the value of the equity. So now this is kind of financial highlights of the Microsoft, and you can see these kinds of the valuation variables. You're gonna see that actually in the later on. And these financial statements can be found in the SEC website called EDGAR. So you can see the filing called 10K, which is annual report, and there are the income statement, balance sheet, and cash flow statements there, and you can see these ratio. You can actually calculate this ratio. Also, you can find this ratio directly, by using kinds of the secondary source, such as the Yahoo Finance, MSN Finance, or Morningstar, paid service, things like that. And usually we compare with this industry average to see if this PE ratio or the price book ratio is comparable to the industry average. If it is pretty far from this industry average, then we think that that's probably some mispricing happen. Now let's see the intrinsic value versus market value. So intrinsic value is the value of the equity, based on the assumption that the value should be the sum of present value of the future cash flows. So before starting that, we start to calculate expected the HPR, which is holding period returns, and if expected dividend is this one, this is current share price, and this is expected end year price, then your expected holding period return will be expected dividend plus this is capital gain expected price year later minus the price you invested, current share price divided the current share price. And we have two different type of return, which is dividend yield plus this is capital gain yield. Okay. So suppose you purchase a share of this company for $40 in January. You expect to sell it for $42 in December. Expect to receive dividend $2.40 during that year. What is the expected HPR? When you calculate this is kind of pretty simple. Just to plug the number into the formula here. So expected dividend $2.40, 2.4. Expected price $42, and the current price 40, and divide by 40 will be 11%. Now, so the intrinsic value is the present value of the firm's expected future net cash flows, which means that it's basically the basic of the valuation. Valuation should be based on the expected future cash flow, discounted by some certain appropriate discount rate, which is a required rate of returns. And this required rate of return should be the market capitalization rate, usually denoted as a K. This is market consensus estimate of the appropriate discount rate for firm's cash flow. So market consensus is kind of pretty subjective word, so you have to estimate that. There's a number of ways to estimate, but many cases we estimate using the DDM models. Sometimes like from French three-factor model, like the valuation model we learned in the previous part. So the intrinsic value for the holding period, like if the holding period is just one period, so which is you have the today's value here and you hold for one period, and this is expected price 1, which is the selling price. You receive also the dividend, right? Year 1, then your future cash flow is expected dividend plus expected future price year 1, which is the selling price, divided by 1 plus k. 1 plus k, so k is the just one period back to the present, right? So this is the present value of year 1 cash flow. That's one period problem. So from this one period problem, if your holding period is h, so now today and period 1, period 2, period 3 to the certain h, then you have dividend 1 here, and dividend 2, dividend 3, and to the dividend h, right? And then when you sell this one in h, you receive the price as of h. Then this is the present value of the dividend 1. This is the present value of the dividend 2, dividend 3, to the final one, dividend h plus the price h divided by 1 plus k part to the h's. So this is called the dividend discount model. Dividend discount model is the model that so the assumption here is that we have future cash flows, right, which is the dividend. And then when you sell it, you have selling price. So we take the present value of all dividends and the selling price to the present. Then we can calculate intrinsic value of the firm, which is equals to the present value of all future expected dividends, called the DDM, dividend discount model. But one problem is, now we cannot actually just calculate the all present value of all future dividends because we don't know h. Here we have certain h here, but we cannot expect any h here. So really this is kind of the infinite problem. So suppose as long as the firm survives, you hold the stock, then the maximum length of the holding period will be infinite. So this is infinite problem really cannot be solved because we only can solve this problem by collapsing, the mathematically into some formula if there's a certain condition holds, which means that if dividend will grow at a constant rate forever, so we have certain g, which is the dividend t plus 1 equals to dt plus 1 plus g for any t. Then we can compute the value of the stock using this formula, which is the constant growth dividend discount dividend model, constant growth DDM. It's a D1, the next period dividend divided by market cap like K minus G. So we have big assumption we need to have certain growth rate. It implies the stock value greater if you have large dividend. So if dividend is larger, then V is greater, right? If market cap K is lower, then V is larger. If you grow more, then V is larger. And this is also intuitively right? So these are the factors that may affect the stock value. Now, if we rewrite this one, so P0 equals to D1 divided by K minus G, then this is going to be P0 times K minus G equals to D1, right? Then P0 times K minus P0 times G equals to D1. So P0 times K equals to P0 times G plus D1. So it's going to be K equals to, actually D1 divided by P0 plus G gross. So we have to separate again the different type of the yield from this expected to market capitalization, right? One is from dividend, the other is capital gain, which is the gross rate of the dividend. So this model assumes that the price grow at constantly, like at G, the G%, okay? And so if the firm grow at G, then you have to grow the dividend at G too. Now let's look at the present value of the gross opportunity. Now, if you pay basically everything out, then there's no G, right? So if the gross rate, so if assuming that we don't do the external financing, assuming that the gross equal to 0, which means that you don't pay out anything, so you pay 100% out to the shareholders. Then you keep the dividend all the time same, right? It's like perpetuity. So dividend payout ratio is the percentage of earnings paid as dividend, and plowback ratio is earnings retention ratio is the proportion of earnings reinvested in business, which means we usually denote this one as a B and this one 1 minus B, because we only have two choices. So if you pay out everything 100%, then you do not retain anything. If you pay out like 40%, then we retain 60%, right? So suppose there are two firms, so for example, there are two firms here, One firm has the no growth. So let's create a new. So one firm has no growth, and suppose they pay dividend equals to $2, and the K is 8%, okay, and no growth. So the price V0 equals to, or P0, whatever, equals to $2 divided by 8%, right? Which is $40. Oh, I'm sorry. This is not the example. Let's change the example. Yeah. Again, suppose we have two different types of company. So one company no growth, which paid net income, this is earnings. So expected earning is the $5 and K is the 12.5%. And no growth, which means that G equals to 0, so you don't pay anything, so you pay everything, so plowback ratio is 0%. Okay. Then the price of this stock is 5 divided by 0.125. Which is $40. So without growth, without any payout, the price will be the $40, okay? Now the next one with growth. Now expect, in spite of just the payout everything, let's keep it certain portion of the incomes. So let's say we retain 60% of the income and pay out 40%. So dividend will be the 40% times the income, which is $5. So $2 dividend per share, right? And now let's say if we invest the project using this money to the that generate 15% returns, ROE, return on equity, then your growth rate will be B times ROE, which is a 60% times 15%. So the growth rate will be 9%. So it grow 9%. Then your price will be now dividend 1 divided by K minus G. So dividend 1 is the D0, which is the $2 plus 1 plus 9%, right? Divided by, oh, actually, I'm sorry, this is E1, right? So D1 is in fact just $2. Yeah. This is the D1 because the E1 is the 5%. So 2 divided by 12.5% is K and 9% is the growth rate. And you're going to get the $57.14. So in comparing with the no growth, you basically actually increase the firm value, stock value, because now without growth, we don't invest in it, right? So we just pay out everything. So the stock value is $40. Now with growth, and you invest ROE equals to 15% project, then the price of the stock is $57.14. So the difference, $17.14, will be called the present value of the growth opportunity. Okay, so the price is now two parts. One part, no growth part. This is no growth, right? And then the present value of the growth opportunity is basically based on the first of all, the B, which is the plowback ratio. So how much money you're gonna reinvest. And then number 2 is the ROE of the projects. So how profitable the potential project is, right? And PVGO sometimes it's not always positive, because if you make a wrong decision, so if you invest the project with the ROE below K, below market capitalization rate, then you're going to lose the value. Now, so that's the concept of the PBGO. Now, the life cycle and multi-stage growth model is now DDM model has another flaws. We just assume that everything just grow at constant rate, right? The dividend at constant rate forever. But for starting a firm, first of all, the life cycle is different, right? So for new firms, initially they grow very high rate, and then at mature stage, it will be stable. So we may have to divide this one into 2 stages, which is called the 2-stage DDM models. So there are certain, the period that start to actually behave like DDM model, constant growth. But previously, like before that period, we actually have to manually calculate the present value of each dividends. We sometimes have the multi-stage growth model, not just 2-stage, 3-stage, 4-stage. But eventually, to resolve this problem, you have to have the period that start to behave like the constant growth DDM model. So this is the kind of the example. So if the firm's dividends are expected to grow at 20% until t equal to 3, and then from 4, the growth rate will be 5% forever. They just pay $1 dividend. If the case 12% was the price, so the price will be now, if you draw the timeline, 1, 2, 3, 4, now 0. So you pay $1. So first period you have 1.2, right? And then 1.2 square, 1.2 Q. That's the 3-year dividends. Because the growth rate is 20%, 20%, 20%. And then here the 5%, so 1.2 Q times 1.05, right? That's the first year. So assuming that you basically, this is the time that's, start to be like the DDM, constant growth DDM. So using this D4, we can calculate the P3, which is the D4 divided by K minus G, right? So we computed P3 and assuming that we sell this one in year 3 and discount back to the present manually in each, then you're gonna get the prices of today. So this case, this is the first year dividend present value, second year dividend present value, third year dividend present value, and then this is the again the prices of year 3, P3 divided by P3 divided by 1 plus K to the third. Then we have $21.90. So this is kind of review of the 331 class. We learned it is multi-stage model in prerequisite course. Obviously, this is more realistic because the growth rate may not be the constant. So we need to resolve this issue by having different stages, the model.